So we continue with pollution. We had understood that the two first one was air pollution, and then we understood the water pollution. So in this video we start with the next kind of pollution, which is soil pollution. So the third pollution is soil pollution. So soil pollution is largely localized, whereas the air and the water pollution can spread to long distances. It is quite obvious. The soil pollution will be only in those areas where that particular contaminated pollutant are available. It is not going to spread anywhere. The pollution is not going to spread anywhere. Whereas air, because it is freely flowing, water which is freely flowing within that particular region will cause the water pollution for a longer range. So air will pollute a bigger area. That's why the soil pollution can be said to be a localized kind of pollution. It is a pollution which is only to a localized area, like a person who is staying near a cement factory will automatically be affected by the pollution which is caused by the cement factory. So it will localize in nature. Right, so the soil pollution is largely localized, whereas the air and the water pollutants can spread to long distances. The major sources of oil pollution are industrial waste, urban commercial and domestic waste, chemical fertilizers, biomedical waste and pesticides. So let's see one by one the different kinds of soil pollution. Industrial waste. In addition to releasing gaseous air pollutants and chemical laden water, industries also give out much solid waste. These wastes are in the form of chemical residues, fly ash, metallic ash, etc. So apart from giving out the air pollution and the water pollution, the industries also give rise to a lot of pollution which is in the form of the ash or the dust particles or the chemical residues which are there or the fly ash. So all these are going to cause the soil pollution in that vicinity where the industry is located. The next is urban, commercial and domestic wastes. The cities, towns have a variety of markets, food grains, vegetables and fruits. They have tailors, restaurants, banquet halls, giving out a lot of solid waste in different forms. At home, we produce waste in the form of plastic bags, glass bottles, electric bulbs, kitchen waste, paper packaging, etc. All this is solid waste. So we can see that in a day-to-day, in the cities, always they will be always having some or the other part of waste coming up. Like in case of in a house itself, wafer ka packet khaya to uska wrapper, that is nothing but the solid waste which is going to be there. So plastic bags, glass bottles, broken electric bulbs, kitchen waste, all these are packaging material. All these are going to be as the solid waste. It is collected by municipal workers and dumped for proper disposal. Part of this can be converted into manure and rest can be dumped in sanitary landfills. So whenever the landfills are required, landfilling is required, they can use this for the dumping of that particular place or the landfilling of that particular place. Otherwise, many of the things are also used as manure because many of the kitchen waste and all can be easily converted into compost, which is going to be helping in making fertilizers. Sanitary landfills are the places where the waste are dumped in a ground depression and covered with dirt every day. So that is called as a sanitary waste, where you are going to place all this landfills. The sanitary landfills are going to be dumped in a particular big hole which is generated or ground depression which is generated, and then they are covering with dirt. The next is chemical fertilizers. So yeah, this is something unique. We are using fertilizers, but if it is chemical fertilizers, then it can be a pollutant also. The fertilizers are required, very much required for the agriculture process, but if they are chemical fertilizers, they can also, and if the use of the chemical fertilizers is not properly maintained, if it is of a higher quantity, then it will spoil the soil. Chemical fertilizers, nitrates, phosphates, ammonium salts help in faster and increased crop yield. Yes, it is going to give you a faster and increased crop yield, but their excessive use is harmful. These fertilizers are slowly washed away by the rainwater to reach the lakes and ponds. These lead to faster growth of bacteria which consume a lot of oxygen in water, resulting in death of fish and other water animals. So yeah, that is why it is seen that these particular fertilizers are going to be, because all the fields will require irrigation, and the irrigation में जब भी पानी उस पे जाएगा तो that excess of water is going to flow. When it flows, the water flows, with the water flows the excess of the chemical fertilizers. The chemical fertilizers are going entering into the water body where there will be growth of bacteria due to the chemical fertilizers. So this growth of the bacteria and the fungi inside will be utilizing the oxygen which is present in the water. Accordingly, the fishes and the marine life is going to be damaged. The next kind of a soil pollution will be biomedical waste. Biomedical waste is the waste generated by the hospitals or the clinics. So we very well know that suppose you got a wound over here and you go for a bandaging. So क्या करते हो, एक बार bandage करवाते हो, next time जब जाओगे तो क्या होगा, you are going to remove that bandage. They remove the bandage and put in the dustbin and then apply new bandage over here. So what happens to that one which has gone into the dustbin? It is already having so much infection. Whatever the infection was there in your hand is already over there. So it cannot be just thrown into a dumping yard. This cannot be just handled directly. It needs to be properly handled. If not handled properly, this infection can spread very widely. So there are numerous items such as under this category: needles, syringe, dirty dressings, etc. Unused, discarded medical tablets and powders, discarded biological research material, carelessly disposed of in municipal garbage. Such waste often reaches the soil and may cause harm to soil organism and also the human indirectly through some agents. So yes, if they are discarded improperly, if they are carelessly disposed of in some areas, then it can spread infections, and that infections can spread to the nearby place where the soil is getting contaminated, and accordingly the crop which is growing over there gets contaminated and causes the indirect damage to the people who are consuming those crops. The last one is the pesticides. So the last soil pollution will be the pesticide. Several pesticides such as DDT were much used to kill pests in agriculture farms, godowns and even at homes. Most of this persisted ungraded in the environment as pollutants, causing much harm to life indirectly. Presently, milder pesticides are being used, but even these are pollutants. So yes, the farmers need to use pesticides. They need to use pesticides, otherwise the crops will get damaged. But when they are using very strong kinds of pesticides as DDT, which was very commonly used earlier, not only in the fields but also in the houses, is causing a huge damage to is a huge chemical damage. So pollutant, it is a very big pollutant, so environmental pollutant over here. So that's why nowadays they use a bit of milder kind of a pesticide. But of course, it doesn't mean that it is not a pollutant. It is a pollutant, but slightly less polluting than DDT. Pesticides such as DDT, that is diphenyl trichloroethane. It is diphenyl trichloro, that is DDT, trichloroethane. Used in agriculture to destroy pests, alters the basic structure of the soil, kills the microorganisms in it, and may even reach the human body through the food grown in such soil. The killed microorganisms are mostly those that recycle the nutrients in the soil. So once you are killing the microorganisms in the soil, you are losing the soil fertility, or the nature of the soil to replenish its nutrients in a due course of time is lost. Accordingly, it is very much necessary that those organisms, these microorganisms, be present inside, and hence such kind of a strong pesticides as DDT should not be used. So this was about the soil pollution. The next pollution what we see is the radiation. So next kind of pollution is, the fourth one is radiation. Radiation is a form of energy consisting of high energy particles. It is being used extensively in fields of medicine, that is X-ray, and in generating electricity in nuclear power plants. So we know that there are radioactive substances. The radioactive substances give out alpha, beta, and gamma rays. These alpha, beta, and gamma rays, they can have the capacity, the gamma rays have the capacity to pass through our body, and that's why they are going to be harming our cells, body cells, and that's the reason they are harmful in nature. So places where X-rays are being taken, so X-rays are the one in which also harms our body to a certain extent, and that's why they are to be limited use. So X-rays contain a great deal of energy measured in photons, the units of energy. They damage the body cells. Too frequent and too many X-ray exposures may cause serious health hazards, damaged chromosomes, genetic variations, bone cancer, etc. X-ray machine operators have to take very special care to avoid exposure as much as possible. So you always find that whenever you go for an X-ray, the person who is operating it will be a further distance, or maybe wearing some kind of an apron which will be protecting him from the X-ray. And you also would not be asked to take an X-ray every next day. You know, the X-rays you will be taking only in a limited manner, because these exposures to the X-rays are not so good for your health, because they damage the body cells. So that is why the X-rays are normally avoided as much as possible. Similarly, nuclear power plants can be the source of leak of nuclear radiations, either through the negligent disposal of the waste or by an accidental explosion of the plant. Two very serious nuclear explosions have occurred, one in Chernobyl in Ukraine in 1986 and other in Japan, which is Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant on 11th March 2011. Yes, it is just around 9 years ago that this particular kind of explosion took place in a nuclear power plant, and when such a thing takes place, it is going to cause almost like a nuclear explosion, is nothing but like a nuclear bomb being blown over there, or an atom bomb being blown over there. So it's a huge amount of destruction which could take place due to this kind of explosions. So many people died and many more suffered radiation exposures, causing health problems such as hemorrhaging and even cancer. The chief radiant pollutant was iodine-131, which raises the risk of thyroid cancer. Radiation even leaked into the sea and reached humans passively through seafood. So because the Japan is this explosion took place, which was very much Japan itself is an island kind of a place, so it was very much close to the sea. So the explosion which took place was controlled much more by the seawater, and accordingly the sea got contaminated, and due to the sea animals being affected, the seafood getting affected, it could also damage the people who ate that seafood during those period. Careless discarded radioactive material may cause severe damage, as it happened in Mayapuri, Delhi in 2010. The radioactive waste cobalt-60 from a research center somehow reached the market streets through kabadis. So somehow it was unknown that how could it happen that in a particular radioactive material which was discarded by a particular industry or a research lab was somehow given to a kabadi wala. So that kabadi wala got that particular thing, and it came in handy to the people of Delhi over there, and several exposed people are still suffering and had even died. A resident of Delhi suffered from nuclear, that is cobalt-60 radiation, had ignorantly kept cobalt-60 pencils in his back pocket and suffered serious burns. So he kept it in his back pocket, and that radiations caused a severe burn on his backside. So that was about the radiation. That was the next kind of the pollution, that was radiation. The next radiation is noise pollution. The next kind of pollution is noise pollution. Okay, I think I said radiation. No, it is pollution. The next kind of the pollution is noise pollution. Noise pollution is defined as any unpleasant, loud, undesired sound interfering with one's hearing and concentration. So, whenever you hear any loud sound which is interfering into your kind of communication or disturbing you, then that particular sound is called as noise pollution. So, the honking of the people on the road, the flight moving out, or the even the drums being played or loud music being played, however sweet the sound, the noise may be, but if it is too loud and it is disturbing somebody at that time, then it is nothing but noise pollution. Major sources of noise are the industrial machines, workshops, trains, automobiles on the streets, jet aircrafts landing and taking off in the air, loud conversations, and the radio or television inside houses, the loudspeakers and musical bands in public places, and so on. The list goes on. There is no ending to this list. It just goes on, right, from the honking of the vehicles to the flight moving around, or the music played in the house, or maybe outside somewhere, or the loud music being played by the demonstration which is going on somewhere, or the like the ceremony going on somewhere, the music played by the drums and all played by in a ceremony. All these add to the list of the noise pollution, because they all in a some way or the other is irritating some person at that time. So when it is disturbing somebody at that time, it is a noise pollution. So what are the effects on it? So it is, if you are reading something seriously or solving a mathematical problem, even a mild conversation in the room becomes noise. You must have seen many times that when you are doing something very seriously and somebody just keeps on knocking at the door also, then you feel, kya yaar, kyun disturb kar raha hai? You know, that is the thing. So even the smallest noise can become a disturbance when it is you are engrossed in doing something very seriously. But if you are doing some light reading in a running train, you may not get disturbed. So you can see that the same way, if you are in a train where the continuous खड़क 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 train का movement चल रहा है, उसका आवाज आ रहा है, फिर when you are reading a story book, you are not even bothered that what is the sound coming out. Even somebody quarreling next to you, you are not going to be bothered about it, because you are busy in your own book, reading that book and enjoying the particular kind of a story. So that's why you can see that noise pollution, of course, is slightly, we can say, subjective in nature. It is not going to be objective. It is subjective. It means from subject to subject, from person to person, it will differ. But still, we will always see that some of the level of the sound, when it is higher than a particular level, we will call it as noise pollution. So harmful effects of noise pollution, first of all. Now these are the very important points. This question has been asked many times in the boards also, the harmful effects of noise pollution. First one, interferes in communication. Yes, suppose when I am speaking to you all and at that time some kind of an aeroplane just passes by, what will happen? The sound of the aeroplane is going to affect our thing, and then I need to stop it for some time. Okay, let the aeroplane pass and then only I'll speak. This is quite easily possible because it is going to disturb you in your conversation. So when it is disturbing your conversation, the first thing is that noise pollution always interferes in your conversation, communication. Second, interrupts concentration of thoughts and disturbs peace of mind. Yes, it is. Concentration of thoughts is not possible when continuously some sounds are coming up, and also peace of mind will not be proper. Lowers the efficiency of work. Yes, it lowers the efficiency of work. You are not able to work that efficiently when the sound is keeping on moving around you. Disturbs sleep and leads to nervous irritability. Now, suppose you are trying to sleep and somebody is keeping on, like suppose you are too tired and trying to sleep and your next door neighbor is playing a loud music and having a dance party over there. How irritated you feel. Okay, you get irritated completely. You feel, "Arey yaar, band kar ya, bas ho gaya na karke." Bale, those songs which he is playing may be one of your favorites, but at that time, what you need was sleep. And at that time, if that particular music is disturbing you, then it is a noise pollution. A sudden loud sound can damage eardrums. Prolonged noise can even lead to deafness. Yes, so sudden loud sound always damages the eardrum, and if it is prolonged kind of loud sound, it can also cause permanent damage to the eardrum. Bird life get disturbed by aircraft landing or taking off from airports. So that is why we many times you see that if you just in the Diwali time, you just in an odd hour, if you just blow a cracker, you will find that suddenly the bird starts flying off. So you will see that they gets disturbed. They get disturbed over there. So that bird life is also getting disturbed due to the interference or the disturbed by the aircraft landing or taking of the airports. So what is the way you can minimize this noise pollution? Is firstly prohibiting blowing of horns. Yes, no honking. You are not allowed to honk. You should not be allowed to honk. No need to press the horns at all. So stop the blowing of the horns. Restriction on loudspeakers, especially during night. Yes, there could be a restriction to the use of the loudspeakers. You should be not allowed to use the loudspeakers after a certain time period. So till a certain time period, okay, you can use it, but after that's not normally is the rule, that is after 10 p.m. you are not allowed to use loudspeakers. Planting trees by the roadside and keeping doors closed in the houses reduces noise reaching our ears. You always find that if you plant more trees, the trees are going to absorb, they are going to be sound absorbers and they absorb the sound. And especially, and if you also keep your windows and doors closed, then it will stop the sound entering into your houses. And lastly, not to burn firecrackers. Yes, firecrackers which are noisy in nature, we should be banning them. They should be banned. They should not be allowed to use such firecrackers. So that is the measures to minimize noise pollution. Okay, now we move on to the next part, and that is the various effects of pollution. So these were the different kinds of pollution. That is, the air pollution was the first one, water pollution the next one, soil pollution. These are the kind of pollution which is the normal general thing. Then the radiation and noise pollution. So these are the 5 kinds of pollution which takes place around us. Now let us see some various types of effects of the pollution which is taking place. Pollution affects the environment, humans and other life in numerous ways. The most significant ones are as follows. So of course there are going to be a lot of different kind of effects on the human beings due to pollution, but some of the general ones are discussed over here. First is effect on climate and environment. So first effect, what we see is the effect on the climate or the environmental thing. That is, pollution affects the climate and environment in several ways. But the 3 most significant ones are acid rain, greenhouse effect and global warming, and ozone layer depletion. So what is most important one is acid rain. Next is global warming, and the last one is ozone depletion. Okay, so acid rain, global warming and ozone depletion are the 3 kinds of the main effects which are caused by pollution. So let's start with the acid rain. Normally the clean rain is only slightly acidic, pH value of about 6, because the presence of only very small quantity of nitrates due to the nitrogen oxygen getting combined to form nitrates due to the lightning, which is hardly around 6, this is the pH value, and also due to carbon dioxide present. So because of some carbon dioxide naturally present in the atmosphere, due to the increase in the industrialization, there is a lot of emission of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen which get dissolved in the raindrop falling on earth as rain. This is acid rain. So due to the continuous movement of the industries, the vehicles and all, there is a lot of SO2 and CO2 given out into the atmosphere along with the nitrogen also, and accordingly this gives rise to the increase in the acid content of the water which is given out in rain, and hence we call it as acid rain. Harmful effects of acid rain: damage to vegetation by pollution of the soil. So yeah, first of all, the acid rain is going to pollute the soil because it is going to be adding acid to the soil, and plus it is damaging the vegetation. Decay of the building material and paints, yeah, because the acid is going to react with the concrete and cause the corrosion of the material, and hence you must have always known this thing that there is the damage caused to the marbles of the Taj Mahal. So the Taj Mahal marble, which was turning yellow, it is now cleaned up, but it was turning yellow because of the pollution and the acid rain. Erosion of the ancient monuments, statues and sculptures by the acid reacting with the calcium. So the calcium, erosion of the calcium is getting eroded by the acid. So this is causing the ancient monuments to be corroded and eroded, and statues and sculptures are eroding. The fine particles, that is the sulfates and the nitrates, degrades visibility and harm the human health. Okay, the fine particles also harm the human health by because they are particulates. Fish and other aquatic animals are harmed due to increased acidity of the water in such lakes. So that is also one thing, and that is the fishes or the marine life is going to be damaged because of the acid entering into the water. So this was about the acid rain. Next what we see is the greenhouse effect and global warming. I'll just check up for the timing. Okay, I think I will continue with the greenhouse effect and global warming in the next video, because there is still certain thing I cannot complete in the same video, so I'll better start a new video for the same.